Again.
Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good evening, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. The World Bank has recently approved $165 million in additional financing to accelerate the adoption of solar photovoltaic units on rooftops in India by residential consumers by making it more affordable. The money will directly finance 450 megawatts of residential rooftop solar capacity, and the initiative is expected to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 13.9 million tons. This works out to about $376,000 per megawatt. Guyana, on the other hand, is racing ahead with a gas-to-energy project that will supply the grid with some 250 megawatts with a speculated cost of over $1 billion and a 175 megawatt hydro plant at Amilo Falls, pegged at also in excess of $1 billion in its previous iteration. The financing from the Bank for India's project includes a $150 million loan from the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and $15 million from the IBRD Fund for Innovative Global Public Goods Solutions. In other news, the production sharing agreement with ExxonMobil Guyana and its provisions will ensure that Guyana continues to receive the 14.5% take from its oil reserves in the Stabroek Block until those oil reserves have been exhausted. This is the conclusion of former Guyanese representative Professor Cyril Kenrick Hunt, who, in repudiating arguments that in time the 75% cost recovery being deducted for exploration and other costs, such as the initial capital layout, would be reduced, thereby increasing the share due to the country. According to Professor Hunt, 14.5% of revenue is written in the contract, and increasing the number of wells explored, which may result in an increase in production, will not change the contractual 14.5%. In fact, Professor Hunt argues that what will instead obtain is that it will shorten the number of years required to exhaust the oil reserves in that hole. Meanwhile, two policemen were on Tuesday charged separately for their involvement in the shooting death of Quindon Bacchus. They were charged for allegedly perverting the course of justice by providing false information to investigators. The defendants, 24-year-old Thurston Simon and 35-year-old Damian McLennan, appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan via Zoom to answer to the charge. Simon, via his lawyer, Everton Lamy, told the court that he was threatened by one of his superiors not to give any details to investigators in the alleged gunning down of Bacchus, who was shot dead on June 10th last by one of his colleague, Christophe Denabriga, at Haslington, East Coast, Demerara. 22-year-old Denabriga, a member of the Guyana Police Force's Special Branch, was on Tuesday charged and remanded to prison for the murder. The policeman of Liliendal, Georgetown, appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan and was not required to plead to the indictable charge. De Nobrega alleged in his initial statement to police that Bacchus had shot at him first during a sting operation, and he was forced to return fire. However, the court heard from the police prosecutor in the matter that after ballistic tests were done, it is possible that Bacchus never shot at the policeman because the gun found in his possession was not in working order. It was also revealed to the court that Bacchus was shot 7 times and not 6, as was previously reported. And in other news, the country's central bank recently released a report outlining the performance of the country during the first quarter of the year. A major highlight of the document is that government spending on new capital projects increased by a whopping 170.5%. According to the Bank of Guyana report, the country's total current expenditure, including interest charges, stood at $51.4 billion, which reflected budgetary spending. The bank explained that major disbursements were made particularly in the housing and construction sectors, which represented 41.9% and 32.9% of total capital expenditure, respectively, for the period under review. Meanwhile, the agriculture sector came in third for the largest disbursements, taking 10.5%, followed by the education and social welfare sectors, accounting for 4% and 2% of the disbursements, respectively. And in other news, traveling to Georgetown for quality healthcare services is expected to become a thing of the past for East Coast Demerara residents, as the government will soon construct a diabetic center and 2 hospitals, a regional and maternal or pediatric, along the East Coast corridor. While delivering his remarks, Minister Anthony made it clear that a great deal will soon be unfolding on the East Coast in terms of healthcare. Speaking of ambitious plans, he said that for the first time, a regional hospital will be built on the East Coast so that no longer people would have to go to Georgetown to get a surgery done. In other news, a GDF soldier on Tuesday made his first court appearance to answer to the charge of murder committed on No. 2 Village, East Kanji Burpee's hairdresser and mother of 29-year-old Donalisa Park. Appearing at the New Amsterdam Magistrates Court before Magistrate Renita Singh was 32-year-old Colin Hazel, a corporal stationed at Base Camp Siweyo, Soosdijk Linden Highway. Hazel was not required to plead to the indictable charge and was remanded to prison until August 23rd. He was unrepresented. Police said that the body was found at 7 hours last Thursday. Her sister told police that she last saw her alive that day before around 8 hours at their No. 2 Village, East Kanji home. The time is now 12 hours 15 in Guyana. We'll return with your news after the break.
Go loud or go home. Never miss out on your favorite local radio segments, local and international podcasts, and DJ mixes.
That's right.
With the Go Loud app. Discover podcasts like Common Sense, Red Table Talk, The Breakfast Club, and the best mixes from DJs worldwide, and much more. Stream all of your favorite local radio stations in one app. Go loud on what matters to you. Download the Go Loud app in the App or Play Store today and start listening.
If you are applying for a land compliance from the GRA, you will need the following documents: completed application form, copy of transport title or lease, copy of agreement of sale or purchase, vendors and purchases tin, improvement schedule. You must ensure all outstanding capital gains taxes and other taxes due are paid and returns filed before you receive your compliance certificate. It takes 5 working days to receive your land compliance certificate. GRA, your partner in development.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. While already more than $355 million is being deducted from oil produced in the Stabroek block for the decommissioning or cleanup, phase at the end of the life of each oil well, information coming to light indicate that this estimate is routinely changed, taking into account changing inflation rates and pre-tax discounts. The information is contained in the financial statement for at least one of the production partners in the Stabroek Block working along with ESSO. This much has been outlined by CNOOC Petroleum Guyana Limited, ExxonMobil Guyana's 24% partner in the Stabroek Block. According to the financial notes attached to the company's financial statements, when it comes to decommissioning and restoration provisions, this is estimated by its management based on the branch's net ownership interest in all wells, estimated costs to reclaim and abandon the wells and facilities, and the estimated timing of the costs to be incurred in future periods. Meanwhile, Bank of Guyana has reported a decline in oil production for the first quarter of 2022, despite the coming on stream of a second FPSO vessel, the Liza Unity. The information is contained in the Bank of Guyana's quarterly financial report for 2022, documenting the financial affairs of the country up to March, pointed to a marginal decline in the production of oil. It was reported that the decline in production was as a result of scheduled maintenance for the first FPSO, the Liza Destiny. The Liza Destiny began production in December 2019 with an installed capacity of 120,000 barrels of oil per day, but had been producing as much as 130,000 barrels per day following its debottlenecking exercise. And now let's tell you, some 16,288 primary students countrywide have registered to write this year's National Grade 6 assessment, which begins today and concludes tomorrow. The exams, which will be written in adherence to all COVID-19 protocols, will be testing pupils on topics up to the Grade 5 Consolidated Curriculum, inclusive of the Grade 4 Consolidated and Normal Grade 3 curricula. As reported, the Consolidated Curriculum, which was introduced last year, was designed by the Ministry of Education to enable pupils to get back on track with work they missed after being away from schools for a while. Schools in Guyana had been closed since March 2020 and had reopened back in September last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And to wrap things up, the Ministry of Education has threatened that school children who have not returned the textbooks they used during the term will not receive the $30,000 cash grant that was approved in the National Assembly to help parents offset expenses for the new school year. However, opposition Member of Parliament Dorothy Fernandez believes that this tactic can open the door to corruption. Fernandez, who functions as Shadow Finance Minister, argued the money was budgeted for every child and approved in the National Assembly without conditionality and should not be subjected to any conditions, because that will lead to another set of corruption when whomever is in charge of the distribution at various schools would have the power to give children of their friends or family or favorites who may have outstanding textbooks while withholding from others, and a double standard system that was operating with the COVID cash grant would be in full play again. And to wrap things up, we turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7. The Kaieteur doesn't sleep. Given their track record, Guyanese politicians cannot be trusted. It is a sad state of affairs that after all the big boy antics, some politicians can admit seemingly with pride that they are afraid to negotiate with Exxon, an outsider whose aim is to plunder our wealth to the hilt. Even the supporters of these politicians are finally beginning to see their true colors. They are quickly coming to the realization that Guyana is indeed up for sale and Guyanese are on the cusp of being evicted. But be assured, Guyanese, there is a just Creator, and He doesn't sleep. Soon and very soon, the politicians will realize this as well. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening, and do have a wonderful rest of your day and not evening, as accidentally announced in the beginning of your newscast.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.